Hello there folks and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. Last episode, meh, not too much happened. This episode, stuff's gonna happen. Alright, so the plan for this episode is to, well, make it to the Mun. Not land on the Mun, but do some science around the Mun. I'm gonna use the lander can. And a command pod. I know what you're thinking. 2 command modules? What's up with that? Well, that's so that we can have both a pilot and a scientist on board, so that the scientist can reset our experiments, and the pilot can, keep us going straight while we're in the atmosphere. And that is going to be the command section of the module. I'm going to build the rest. Some people suggested in a time-lapse sequence, and I think that might be appropriate, so I'm going to finish building this rocket in a time-lapse sequence. You'll be able to see my methodology and how crazy I am when it comes to actually building things. So, I'll meet you guys back when we're done. Alright, so here we are with the Mun Maker Mark I. The design has changed slightly since the time-lapse sequence, but not much. The real only thing that changed is we moved our comms. I believe we had the comms DTS Mark I on this side here on the outside of the craft. I didn't want it causing excess drag and attributing to our ship flipping over, so I decided to, if we go in here, let's zoom in a little bit and zoom up and zoom around, you'll see I put a Communitron in there. I think it's Communitron 16. That is exactly what I put in. In place of it, I put it inside the surface base so there's no excess aerodynamic drag. Alright, and the only other thing that I did was I moved the fins from this stage right here, which is a pretty big liquid fuel stage, and I moved them to the smaller stages because we really only need the fins when we are in the lower atmosphere, and when we're in the upper atmosphere and in space, that the fins are just extra added weight. So I moved them from the technically second stage, or second part of the first stage, to the first part of the first stage. So the way that this rocket's going to work is that we will, looking at the staging, these will detach. All 6 of these big rockets here will fire, which are the Reliant rockets, and then the skipper engine down here will also fire at the same time. They will automatically feed fuel from these fuel tanks into the center fuel tank, so when these are empty and we eject them, which is this stage right here, this fuel tank in the center will be full, and then once this is empty, probably, hopefully, we're going to already have an orbit by then. Maybe not, but if we don't have an orbit, we have this stage right here, which is our second stage. So decoupler decouples, and then the Poodle engine, well, it's not the Poodle, it's the Terrier. I knew it was named after a dog or something. The Terrier engine, which is a small liquid fuel engine, is going to bring us to the Mun and in an orbit around the Mun, and this is a big fuel tank, so that should definitely do the job, and then that should also bring us back home. We're not going to be landing on the Mun, but we do have a future plan so that we can land on the Mun, and we're also going to be doing some science, so hopefully we can gather some good data. And the reason, well, like I said, the reason we're bringing two of these guys is because one of them is going to be a scientist, and they're going to reset the experiments when we're in different orbits and different areas of space, so we can get maximum science. And as you see, we have Bob Kerman as our scientist, Valentina Kerman. We want to give her some experience, so we're going to have her as the pilot. She's going to be in this container right here. This is her window and her viewing port. This is Bob Kerman's little experimental area where he gets to have fun. And because the ladders are right here, they can actually go back and forth between pods if the pods are empty. So that's one extra additional thing I did do. And I think that's going to be about it for the Munmaker Mark 1. The Munmaker Mark 2 is going to be landing on the Mun. That's going to be said right now. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to just essentially reduce weight. If you notice, this is a much larger rocket than the one that made it to Minmus, and that's because of the weight on the top of the rocket. Right now we have a service bay, an SAS container, a Science Junior, a whole bunch of parachutes because we need them to land this relatively heavy stage without breaking anything. And then we also have the heat shield down there. So what we're going to do for the next mission is we are going to remove the Science Junior, put a little bit of a fuel tank there and an engine there, which is going to be our... It's not going to be our descent stage. This is still going to be our descent stage, but we're probably also going to get rid of the top module here because we won't need that. So that's going to reduce weight as well. We'll get rid of 3 parachutes probably, and we're going to get rid of a couple of solar panels. So that'll all get rid of a lot of weight, and then we're going to have enough fuel added to where the weight was in scientific equipment in this mission, and that'll be fuel that'll help us get back to Kerbin. Alright, well, let's save this. Enough talking. Let's actually launch this thing. Alright, here we are with Bob and Valentina Kerman on our launch pad. I think this is a good time to put our SAS on, throttle up, and say our prayers to launch. Alright, so we're going to want to slightly start our gravity burn right away, but we don't want to have our point outside of our nav ball. And as you can see, it really does want to flip over even though we have this thing perfectly symmetrical. That might be because our pilot isn't the greatest. Not entirely sure. But anyhow, if we keep the point inside of the prograde in our nav ball, we will not flip over. So I'm going to do my best to manually control this, and I am manually controlling it right now to try to prevent that from happening. And once we're out of the thickest part of the atmosphere, I'm going to throttle down a bit because we're going quite quick. Alright. Pretty soon the first part of the first stage is going to be detaching. And this is really wanting to flip. And there we go. Throttle up all the way. We are out of the densest part of our atmosphere, but once we get to 20,000, it will be safe to continue the rest of our gravity burn to get us into a nice, stable orbit. And as you see, we have all this fuel. And this this engine right here, the skipper, is actually fairly fuel efficient as far as big engines and fuel tanks go, because I know the mainsail, that sucks up fuel like you would not believe. Alright, so we are definitely in the thinner part of the atmosphere, and we're not wanting to flip over anymore, which means we can start to flip over manually into our gravity burn. And I am going to take a peek at our apoaps. Still not in space yet, so I'm actually not going to turn over too much more until we're in space as far as our apoaps is concerned. We're going to still want to burn on our prograde marker, though. Okay, there we go. We are in orbit, which means we probably have a... Yep, not quite in space yet, which is Yeah, that's right. Well, we're going to keep on burning at this angle. We're going to be in space soon enough. We have so much fuel. It is fantastic. We're definitely making it to the Mun this mission. Not a doubt in my mind. All right. This fuel in here should be enough to get us into a solid and stable orbit, and maybe even enough to help us with the Mun injection maneuver. All right. Hopefully we gathered enough. Yeah, there we go. We gathered enough speed. We are definitely on an orbital trajectory. We are in space. Pretty soon, the atmosphere is not going to be affecting us at all anymore. It pretty much isn't at this altitude, but it is still technically there. Alright. We are in space now. I'm going to cut our engines. We're going to wait until we're at apoapse, and then we're going to burn. In fact, we might not even get into an orbit, and we might just continue to burn. Actually, we will go into an orbit, because once we get to about this point in our orbit, we're going to burn towards the Mun, and we'll have an intercept probably around thereabouts. In fact, the sun should be right over there, so hopefully we can land on the sun-facing side of the Mun. There's a Tylo way over there. Cool. Well, let us speed up time a little bit. In fact, we'll do that on the mini-map so we know where our apoapse is. And I'm going to burn out of apoapse to save fuel. And with these solar panels on here, we really don't have to worry about running out of energy. So we can keep our SAS on. I'm not worried about that, as well as that we have 2 battery packs, so that's good as well. Okay, and ooh, it's wanting to go a little bit head over, but it won't flip completely. There we go. And there we go. I'm going to take a look at our orbit. As you can see, it's going well. We passed our apoapse by a little bit, but that's not going to be too terrible. Let's take a look at our fuel situation. Still have plenty of fuel. Periapse is not quite in space yet. And I'm going to stop right there. So we're going to burn at around here, almost at our periapse, which is actually really good as far as fuel consumption is concerned. So yeah, we might actually have enough fuel in the stage to make it to the Mun. And this entire fuel section will be used for getting into an orbit. Hopefully our periapse is going to be at a low orbit around the Mun, and the apoapse is going to be at a high orbit around the Mun, so we can get several different types of science this mission. Alright, well, let's zoom out a little bit. There's no reason to do any science right here. Actually, I take it back. I don't think we've done an EVA yet. So we're going to crew report. Nothing, so we're going to reset the experiment. Instead, Bob Kerman, EVA. And let's see what you have to say. EVA report. You've recorded your observations, yada yada yada. So we're going to keep the data, and we're going to store experiments, so that information is stored inside of that command pod now. So when we, it doesn't look like we can detach quite yet. It doesn't let us, or maybe it will. Okay, yep, looks like we can. EVA report. Haha, keep even more data. Okay, I don't want to go too far away. Grab, there we go, and board. Store experiments. Oh, I suppose it's the same exact experiment, so when we board, we'll have to dump one of them. And we'll exit out of that. Oh, that's why. I was like, why is the camera so weird? All right, there we go. So we do still have one crew report in there, so let's go around to our periapse. Well, actually, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, like I've done before in the past. We're not going to use the nav markers. As soon as we see the Mun, we're going to burn towards it. There it is. And going to head on down to our prograde marker and burn prograde until we make it to said Mun. And nice and gently now. Nice and gently. This is like a big wobbly noodle. Alright. And thrust. There we go. Stay right on that trajectory and we will be just fine. Okay. Let me look at the map, and as you see, our apoapse is expanding. Hopefully we'll get an encounter somewhere around there. Let's see, how much fuel do we have left? Plenty of fuel. Okay. Keep that up in case we have to switch to our next stage, which is technically our second stage. We're still on our first stage. It's hard to think about, but incredible to think about, rather. But it's a fairly efficient rocket right there. And soon enough, we're going to get an encounter. Alright. And we're going to actually impact the Mun. So we might have to adjust our thrust a little bit. Okay, what did that do? In fact, we should be able to add a maneuver, and I'm going to, yeah, there we go. Don't want to burn too fast. We want to keep our periapse pretty low. And that will help with the Oberth effect. If you don't know what that is, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at explaining it, but it's essentially when you're lower in the gravity well and you perform maneuvers, it's essentially better on your delta V. So when we're at our periapse and our periapse is lower, it actually helps our delta V when we want to increase our apoapse. So that's why I'm keeping a low periapse. Also, it will help so when we want to get captured by the Mun. Actually, if we want to be captured by the Mun, having a high periapse would be better, but that'll be fine. So we do have a maneuver node, and we're going to maneuver to said maneuver node. And we should have a sunrise pretty soon, as the planet Kerbin rotates beneath us. So we don't even have to burn very much. It's only 15.6 or 7 meters per second of delta V. And for those of you who didn't catch what delta V was last time I said it, delta V is essentially, well, it is exactly the change in velocity that is required to achieve the maneuver. Delta is the symbol for change, and V is the nomenclature for velocity. So delta V essentially means change in velocity. That is simple as it gets. So there we go. Now we're going to speed up time a little bit. We have 2 hours before our node. Sunrise is coming up. Ah, that's a pretty cool picture right there. Snapshot. All right, well, let's speed up time a little bit. Don't want to go past our maneuver node. I'm actually going to go into the map mode now. And we will have more than ample time to adjust any mistakes we make during the maneuver node. And, ooh, don't go too fast. Time warp can be a little bit of a bugger sometimes. 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to slow down, make sure we're on our correct approach. We want to be smack dab on the center. And almost there. That'll do it right there. That's the spot. 44 seconds until we make our short little maneuver. We have exactly probably 16.5 meters per second of delta V. Oh, nope. Now it says 15.7 meters per second of delta V that is required. In about 26 seconds. The burn itself is probably going to take no more than 1 or 2 seconds, especially at full throttle, but we're not going to be doing full throttle. It would be probably as low throttle as we can possibly go. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. We're just about there. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we missed it by 0.0 or 0.1 meters per second, which is actually great, because that means we are almost exactly on the orbit that we want. And the orbit's kind of freaking out right now, which makes me wonder if I shouldn't just thrust a bit. There we go. That is very bizarre. I know it does that sometimes when we have weird encounters, but we should be fine. Alright, well, let's speed up time. And then when we are at our periapse, we're going to burn retrograde to get into a solid orbit around the Mun. Okay. Oop, we're almost in orbit around the Mun, and then we can start doing science. Okay, and as you can see, we are now going to have very odd, I don't know, intercept orbit with the Mun. It's going to shoot us off in some odd direction if we don't slow down. I won't need a maneuver node for this one. When we're at our periapse, it's just simple to burn retrograde. In fact, right now we could probably do some experiments high over the surface of the Mun. So I think we're going to do that. Where is the Mun right now? Where are you? There you are. Hiding over there. Alright, well. Looks like we're getting some solar charge, so I'm going to turn off our SAS. We don't need it right now. We're going to observe the materials bay. We're going to keep data. We're going to get 100 science from that if it's not destroyed, and I don't think it will be. However, we will be resetting some experiments and transmitting some data, so we will log the temperature. Same thing as before. Scientists can't read it because there's no matter in space. We're going to transmit that. And there goes the communitron. And it's going to suck down a lot of electricity. But we do have solar panels to help rejuvenate that. And we got some science from that as well, so I think that's a win-win. No. I didn't mean to press that button. That really didn't do much. It increased our apoapse by a little bit, or our periapse by a little bit, but that's fine. In fact, let's continue on. Oh, don't go too fast. Don't go too fast. Okay. Now we are slightly past our periapse, but we are in a great position to burn retrograde right now. I'm going to turn on our SAS again, and right there. And as you can see, yay, we have orbit. I'm probably going to want to shrink the orbit a little bit. Maybe even a little bit further. And we'll shrink it down to an appropriate size. And when we're at our apoapse, we are also going to burn towards the retrograde to bring our periapse down a little bit so we can get much, much closer to the Mun than we normally would be able to. While still having easy way using the Oberth effect by when we're at the periapse, we'll burn prograde and then we'll be able to get out of the influence of the Mun's gravity well. So there we go. Hello, Mun. We are now captured by your gravity. Hooray! Alright, well, let's go around to our map, and we'll zoom around until we are at our apoapse. We will burn towards retrograde to reduce our periapse, like we've said before. Oh, cool, you can see Kerbin rotating beneath us. We're just about there, and that'll be good. right about there. Turn off our map. Right now we are at our apoapse. We want to be pointed towards, or we're pointing toward prograde rather. We want to be pointing towards retrograde. And we'll see how close we can get to the Munner surface without actually eating it. In other words, face planting inside of it, because that would be bad. Alright, well, because we want to get into low space around Kerbin. Right now we're in high space or above Kerbin. Valentina Kerbin is loving it. Bob Kerbin, not so much. She is having the time of her life. And right now, it's kind of cool. We are actually following the same kind of steps that Apollo followed to make it to the moon. Apollo actually, they did several launches. They did docking, and then, well, that was Mercury and Gemini. And then for the actual Apollo launches, they first tested out their rocket. They made sure that it worked, and then they decided to do a flyby of the moon, and that's probably pretty close right there. I don't know if we want to get any closer than 50,000. Okay, we can get a little bit closer. And that's probably close enough. 44,000? How daring are we? 30-something thousand? Okay. Yeah, 20,000 meters. That's pretty low. So that's definitely going to be in low orbit over the moon. And like I was saying about Apollo, Apollo did some orbits of the moon, and they actually surveyed some landing sites so that future Apollo missions could actually land on the moon. And then future mission, I believe Apollo 11 was the first Apollo mission to land on the moon, and it was history made right there. So I think we'll do the same thing. We'll find a spot that we want to land. We're not obviously going to land despite the fact we do have fuel. We just don't have the landing gear. So note to self, we really don't even have to get rid of that much scientific equipment. I'll probably get rid of the Science Junior because it's kind of tall. And then we'll just put some landing gear on there, and I think we'll be fine. Also, we'll get rid of one of the command pods. We only need one person to make it to the Mun. Alright, well, let us... And we're going to get really, really close. What I'm going to do is... I know there's still fuel in here, but I'm going to eject it. Once I slow down my time warp, that is. And we're going to... There we go. Alright. Make sure that didn't... Yeah, that did reduce our periaps a little bit, but not too much. Alright. Well, let's... I think we're on the bright side, too, as far as landing goes. If we wanted to land, but our periaps is also on the bright side. That's cool. It looks like there's some sort of canyon or fissure right there along the light and dark seam. There's a big crater there as well. And you can really see some proper detail now. There's another, what looks like canyon. Probably a result of tectonic activity. We are going to get very, very close very, very quickly. And thanks to the Oberth effect, we are going to be able to get out of the Munner gravity well quite easily if we burn out our periaps. But we're going to do one more orbit of the moon before we decide to call it a day. So we are at 60,000 meters. Our periaps is going to be about 3 times lower than that. Wow, we are really, really low right now. And we're moving quite quick, but that is at time warp. Alright. Even without time warp, you can see how quickly we're moving. Alright, well, I think this is time for observing the mystery goo. We're going to keep data. We're going to observe this mystery goo. Keep data. We are going to actually transmit the data for this. Right now we have something pointing towards the sun, which means if we transmit the data, we should be fine. So where is our antenna? It's over there. I can't really see it very well. There it is. Transmit data. Transmit all. We'll transmit everything. This will give us a lot of good science. It's going to drain our power, though. I'll turn off SAS so we don't drain too much. And it continues to drop. This is really cool. So we're about at our periapse right now. We don't have any electrical charge right now, so it stopped transmitting. But we do have solar panels, so that should help that. Where is the sun? I'm actually going to... Oh, no. Stop transmitting. I want to... point my solar panels towards the sun. There we go. Got some good ones pointed towards the sun right now. That'll give us some more electrical charge, and we can finish transmitting the data in a little bit. Alright. Someday we're going to reach you. Actually, someday is coming up pretty quick. That moon is beckoning. Alright, and we are past our periapse. Let's wait until we get some more electricity. Alright, and let's see if we can transmit more of that data. If we had a better comms relay, we would actually get, we would gather more science from it, but we're stuck with what we have right now. We have nothing to transmit. Aha! So, what we're going to do is, Bob Kerman, we're going to EVA you. And we're going to reset this experiment, so... we turn on that. There we go. RCS is on. Out. Right into the space craft. Alright. Be very gentle. Okay, gotta get close enough. Doesn't look... and... whoop. Almost there. We almost had it. A bit of a tricky maneuver here. Come on, Bob. There we go. Oh, had it for a second there. It has to be in just the right location, otherwise it doesn't let us do it. Come on, let us restore it, and restore. There we go. Now we can do some science from low lunar orbit, or space above Z moon. And hopefully we can grab the... there we go. We'll grab that, and we'll board. Oh, no, don't let go. Board it. Board it. There we go. Alright, now we can do the science again. Observe the materials bay. There we go. Well, apparently we're still high over the Mun, but it's still good data, and hopefully we're going to recover this one, so we're going to get 70-something science from that. We're going to close this, and we're going to do one more orbit around the Mun, and at our periapse we're going to burn towards prograde to get us out of the gravitational influence of the Mun. Oh wow. Almost passed it. Okay, we passed it, but that's fine. Alright, we have full charge again on our thruster and SAS and batteries. There we go. Turn that on. Prograde right there. So we know that this rocket definitely has the power to make it to the Mun and probably onto the surface and back. Look at how much fuel we have. Okay, well, let's cut the fuel. So when we're at our apoapse, we'll have to burn retrograde. Holy crap, we're all the way out at the orbit of Minmus. Didn't quite do that right, but we'll burn retrograde when we're at that area. And then we should make it safe and sound to Kerbin. And we'll have enough fuel to... help slow our descent. Whee! And we almost made it to Minmus again, but Minmus has such a low influence that we'd have to get very, very close to Minmus to be able to get another encounter with it. Alright, well, we are almost there, and there we go. So, now we will turn ourselves around. This has lasted 14 days. Holy crap. You can see there's the moon right there. There's Kerbin. We are really far away right now. Valentina loves being away from Kerbin. Bob, not so much. He's a scientist. He just likes doing science. He doesn't want to go explore space. He just doesn't want to die. And he wants to uncover new things. Alright, well, here we go. Periapse is going to shrink. Hopefully we'll just get inside of the atmosphere. I don't want to be hitting the ground too hard. Also, the sun is over there, so that means we'll be landing on the bright side. Got another encounter with the moon, but let's continue our retrograde burn. Whoa, now that is something interesting. We could have another encounter with the moon and then go back to Kerbin, but I don't want to do that because it looks like we'll be hitting the atmosphere pretty hard. Let's watch our periapse decrease. Actually, that'll give us a low periapse too, but so weird how these things occur just by accident. And alright, let's speed up our thrust just a little bit. 9. We're going to hopefully do it when it's at maybe 50,000 meters above the surface, because that'll be enough to slow us down sufficiently. Okay. Still have so much fuel left, so I'm not too worried about that. And we're just about at the point where we're going to cut off because we're almost, well, not almost in the atmosphere, but we're getting really close. Just a couple more seconds of burning and we're going to be there. Yep, we're going to be within the atmosphere any second now. 3. There we go. With a periapse of 20,000 meters, that means technically if we're going fast enough, we'll actually skip right through the atmosphere, but I don't think we'll be going that fast. So, that'll be good. We are going to want to continue pointing to... Actually, we'll probably want to point something like this. Would be my guess. There we go. Something like that, actually. Almost towards our almost towards prograde, but it's not going to be prograde for long. So, let's speed up time. Whee! It's cool, you can see the Mun orbiting Kerbin. And, wow, Kerbin's orbiting quite quickly. Alright, we are going really, really fast right now. So, looks like I can burn up, and that should slow us down so we don't hit the atmosphere so hard. Also, I want to make sure that all of our experiments have some sort of, you know, experiments to them. Okay, so those are done. That's just the service bay. We will log temperature. We're going to keep the data. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Log temperature. Keep the data. We're going to close the service bay. We're not going to transmit it because hopefully all of this will fall intact to Kerbin and we'll just recover it via that way. Alright. So let's speed up time a little bit. looks like we're definitely going to be landing on the bright side. In fact, we're going to be landing pretty close to land. Not sure where Kerbal Space Command is. I think Kerbal Space Command is like right there, so we're not going to land near Kerbal Space Command, but we'll land on the bright side, which is nice. In fact, well, I was going to say we could probably do some science in the desert biome, but I don't think that we have any ladders yet, which is kind of annoying. Alright. Now it's time to burn retrograde. Yep, there we go. In fact, we're probably going to want to ditch this stage really soon. Otherwise, it's going to be plastered to our heat shield, and it's going to do us no favors. In fact, goodbye. Goodbye. We'll just use our ablative heat shield to help us slow our descent. I think that's all we'll need. What does it look from the inside? Still looks like stars. What if we rotate around? There's Kerbin. You can get a nice picture this way. That's kind of cool. Alright, well, let's exit the view of this. Whoop. Because I think we're going to be entering the atmosphere imminently. And we're going to be experiencing re-entry effects quite quickly here. And ooh, how do I want to do this? That's what I wanted to. That's how I wanted to point it, like that. All right, and our SAS is going to hopefully keep us in this same trajectory, so we don't need any fins on re-entry. And all these parachutes are going to help slow us down. Once we stop going 3,000 meters per second, which is really fast if you didn't realize. I wonder if we're actually going to skip right through the atmosphere. Probably not. Yeah, we're slowing down sufficiently. We're not going to skip through the atmosphere. In fact, you'll see our apoapse is shrinking dramatically. Quite dramatically. And thank goodness for the heat shield, because if it weren't for that, I'm sure we'd be burning up right now. Yeah, even the ablator is taking damage. We didn't actually take any damage last time, but this time the ablator is taking damage from the atmospheric re-entry. I would call this a spot-on re-entry, and it looks like some of our parachutes are going to get destroyed. Either that or it's these solar panels. Not sure. Nope, looks like all of them. That's why we could put our parachutes in different locations, but we're fine. And okay, that's quite unfortunate, but luckily we slowed down quite a lot to the point where I think all of our stuff is in good shape. Yeah. Alright, we slowed down enough. We did end up flipping around eventually, but the heat shield did its job. It ablated about 1/4 of its entire health away, which is actually a lot, and we're still going really fast, so we're going to deploy our chutes. Oh, it's the solar panels that were glowing red, so that's okay. Our parachutes were actually just fine there. And I guess we can probably speed up our way down to the bottom. Depending on how we land, we might be able to do some science in this biome. You know, take some EVA reports and stuff like that. And then we'll get even more science from that. Fantastic. And Valentina Kerman's loving it. She'll get a lot of experience from this as well, so that's not a bad thing either. Alright, we're getting close to the point where our parachutes are going to deploy. Slow down a little bit. There we go. And then we'll just time warp all the way down to the bottom, which is going to be nice and cozy 3.8 meters per second. So that's going to be a nice and comfy and soft landing, thanks to all 5 of these parachutes. So we have 2 on this module, 2 on this module, and then 1 on the tippy top, which is technically the top module. So the top module has 3. All right, well, let's slow down our time warp. And we've landed. I'm going to turn off our SAS. I'm going to see if I can tip over a little bit. There we go. Roll a little bit, and we should... there we go. I'm going to see if Bob Kerman wants to do some science from here. Looks like we're regaining our electrical charge, so cool. So EVA. Let's donk. There we go. And from here we can do an EVA report. Hooray! We're going to go over here. We're going to store the data inside of our capsule. Store experiments. And we're going to, hopefully we can take an EVA report. I'm not sure if we can yet. Or not EVA reports. We can't take a surface sample. Well, we can take another EVA report. Actually, no, we can't because... oh well. I wonder if Valentina Kerman can take one, though. That's something I should, looks like we can grab that board. Dump the extra experiment. Valentina Kerman, we'll see if you can get an EVA report as well. Donk. There we go. EVA report. Not much science from Kerbin, but it's science nonetheless. Okay, there we go. Let's recover the vessel. That was a very expensive mission, but I think it was very successful for our goal of successfully reaching Lathe. So, 136.7 science earned. Very good indeed. Got a little bit of money back, not much. And 4 XP gained for Valentina Kerman and 5 for Bob. Good job, guys. Well done. I think that means we can go to the Science Center and science it up. So what do we want? Landing would be nice because it'd give us better landing struts, and we do want to make it to the Mun. So that's going to be something we should do. Also, these Pegasus mobility enhancers are going to be useful eventually, and the pressure barometer will be good too. This is good for probes. Don't really want to do that for making it to the Mun. More decouplers and tri-stack couplers and protective nose cones are all well and good, but landing, we need better landing struts. So we're going to get that. And we have 184 science, but we can't research a lot of this because our science facility is pretty crap. So what I'm going to do is upgrade our research and development center. I know that does use up a lot of money, but it is very useful. And we only have $2 million left, and that cost $225,000. So cost a lot, but it was worth it. Alright, now we can research a couple more things. We can get heavier rocketry, which gives us even bigger liquid fuel engine fuel tanks and bigger liquid fuel engines, the mainsails, which I talked about earlier in the episode. We also have advanced fuel systems, which are these absolutely massive fuel tanks with bigger RCS fuel tanks, but we don't really have much in the way of RCS right now. Also, we can get some better command capsules. We have a larger service bay. That's going to be nicer, but I don't think we need that now. We have a Mark II lander can, which can have a crew capacity of 2 rather than 1. We have the Mark 1-2 command pod, which has a crew capacity of 3, which is kind of like the Apollo lander, or the Apollo capsule. The Apollo lander was actually very similar to this lander can right here. And then we also have a cupola module, which is just something with a whole bunch of windows that can have a crew capacity of 1. It has a whole bunch of other data that says there's a little bit of monopropellant in it, and you can do science experiments from it. So that's cool. Specialized control gives us some fly-by-wire SAS type things, which are better for avionics. We have some reaction wheels that are larger. We have different type engines. Never seen these before. And we have cylindrified monopropellant tanks. I know it looks like a goo tank or a goo canister, but it's actually monopropellant. And then we have these, which are better solar panels and better batteries. We don't need that quite yet. And we have some things that help us for building. Don't need that yet. So what shall we spend our hard-earned science on? Probably the monopropellant, or the, not the monopropellant, but the heavier rocketry. I think we'll do that. But there's a lot of good stuff we're going to be getting in the future, so there we go. I think that was a very successful episode. Thank you folks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. To the Mun!